Oral tradition and the Odyssey, how a popular war story becomes the foundation for Western literature. To understand the Odyssey, we're going to have to ask ourselves an important question. Just who was Homer? Homer, the author, was not a writer as we think of today. He was an oral poet, closer to a songwriter or performer. Bruce Springsteen writes and performs songs that tell stories in a similar way to the Greek poets and the way they constructed ballads to tell stories of their histories and epic battles. Poets or bards performed their poems as songs at gatherings such as weddings, fairs, or celebrations. They sung stories that provided for the oral history of their people and entertained great crowds. Listen here to a reading of our translation. Notice how it flows like a song.
Tell me, O Muse, of that ingenious hero who travelled far and wide after he had sacked the famous town of Troy. Many cities did he visit, and many were the nations with whose manners and customs he was acquainted.
In many ways, bards were the first wedding singers. The ancient Greeks may have used the word oidos to denote these classical singers. Scholars today use the word to refer to Greek poets such as Homer or Sappho. Though we think of ancient Greece's culture as incredibly influential, the society was not very literate. Citizens worked as artisans, farmers, or soldiers, jobs that did not require reading. Even scholars, some of the great ones, may not have been able to read. Philosophers such as Socrates and Aristotle conducted oral lessons. Socrates, who never produced a writing, was likely unable to read. Homer himself was also illiterate. His job as a storyteller would require literary gifts. Reading, however, was not one of them. Homer himself may have been a popular skilled poet whose version of the Odyssey was incredibly widespread. Some scholars believe Homer, pictured here in a painting by Rembrandt, might not have existed as a historical person. The ancient Greek word homeros has many meanings, including hostage or prisoner. Some say that means our version of the Odyssey might have actually been a prison ballad, passed down through prisoners and then popularized later. Other interpretations of the word could mean blind. Here we see Homer pictured as an old blind man being led by a younger companion. This is a popular portrayal of Homer. Some scholars believe the word to mean minstrel or song singer, though it was more likely that these meanings are metaphors applied to poets who mimic Homer and did not become popular in usage until way after a historical Homer would have passed away. Many poets likely had their own accounts and interpretations of the well-known story of Ulysses, a Greek soldier returning home from the Trojan War who experienced much hardship on his way back to his native land. It is most likely that the version we read today was the most popular and continued to be passed down after the original poet's death, before it was eventually written down in its current form. It is possible, however, that Homer was indeed a historical figure and a popular poet, though it is equally possible that an individual Homer never existed, only his story. Whoever Homer was, the poem attributed to him has survived through oral tradition to text form, and is still one of the most widely read books today. In our class, we'll understand just exactly why the book is so important.